Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition of How Do I Do This Anyways. Today we're going to be using distance sensors in our VEX V5 software. So, after you've put the distance sensor on the front of your ClawBot, make sure that it's not going to be hit by anything like the claw arm, and the claw arm's not going to block it or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and start playing with that and start learning how to use it. So, first thing we're going to do is just record the distance and have it actually measure the distance. So to do that, to make sure that it's working, you want to use your brain screen and actually go into the devices and check to make sure by clicking on it in the devices that it's recording distances. After it's recording distances, then you can go ahead and you can start actually playing with it with the code. So make sure you know what port that it's in. Make sure you go ahead and you define it. I called it distance 11 because it was ended up in port 11. It's pretty simple to define, just like any other claw motor. But we're going to close that up and go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to have it report the brain or the distance to things. So I'm going to say brain screen, brain.screen, hit tab, and I'm going to go ahead and have it print. And I want to have it print distance 11, but I want it to have the object distance. Okay? So that's one of the commands to measure the distance with the sensor. Okay? And I want it to print that out. So now I'm going to close my parentheses. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say brain screen dot next row. So that way I'm just going to get into the habit of doing this so that it does it again and it goes ahead and goes to the next line. So now I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, download this. It checks it for errors. And now I should be able to take my ClawBot and have it run this. Now the problem is it goes, and as soon as you click run, it's going to pop up and have it run it. So like right now, before I could even put my hand in front of it, it was 1,763 millimeters away because it was measuring the wall away from me. So in order to avoid that, we're going to put a short wait command in here. We're going to go ahead and just say wait. Just go half a second. All right, let's try that one. All right, so I was able to get my hand in front of it that time, and it was 79 millimeters away. Now, if you want to get multiple readings on this, well, if you want to just copy and paste this code a few times, you can do that. In this way, I've got like 4 or 5 of them, and I can download this, and it'll run this, and then it should pop up with several measurements, and you can move your hand forward and backwards and see that it'll record different distances. That's an easy way to do it. The next thing I'm going to tell you to do is to just have it constantly repeating the value or recording that value and reporting it to you. Okay? So, in order to do that, we need to put this inside of a loop so it repeats it constantly. Okay? So, to do that, I'm just going to recommend a while loop to make life easier. So, I'm going to come up here and say while, and in the expression, I'm just going to say true. In C++, you'd have to say like 1 equals 1. Here, we don't have to worry about that. We're going to replace our pass statement with our commands for our brain and make sure that they are indented over. And so now, when I go to download this thing, I should be able to run this, and it should, yep, it's making a line or a column of it down the left-hand side, and every half second it spits out a new value for the distance sensor, telling me how far my hand is away from it. So you want to go ahead and do that, play with that for a minute, and see how that works. Find out how far it is for the distance sensor to record where your cube is actually going to be measured into your claw. That could be helpful for you. Because the next thing, we're going to do something a little bit more complicated. What we're going to now do is we are going to create a code that will have the car drive forward until it actually senses something at distance. Okay? So, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make this a little bit more complex, and we're going to have to define a function. And my function, I am just going to call this drive and stop. I'm just going to have this thing simply drive forward and stop, have my parentheses, and then my semicolon. And then I'm going to have under that my true statement. And it's going to report this value because I want it to go ahead and tell me the value every half second. Also, it helps me know that it's running, or it helps me know what the distance is once it stops. Now I'm going to also have nested in there a while statement, and my expression is going to have to do with what I'm calling on. What I want is while the distance sensor is reporting a value back that's greater than 75 millimeters, I want it to drive forward. If it gets to less than 75 millimeters, I want it to stop. Okay? So, to do that, I'm going to have my while loop, and I'm going to go ahead and put in here in my expression, I'm going to start out with distance 11. Get rid of all that stuff. Underscore 11 dot object distance, and I'm going to say is in millimeters, and I'm going to put the expression is greater than 75. So basically this is saying if distance 11 is reporting an object distance that is greater than 75 millimeters, then it's going to do something. What's it going to do? That's what this pass statement is. I'm going to have it drive forward. Okay? I'm going to say drivetrain dot drive forward, because I just want it to move forward while it's doing that. Now, while it's driving forward, just because I like to know that the code is running and it is actually sensing with the distance sensor, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have it spitting out the values from here. I want this to be going on. Okay, make sure that's all indented correctly. Okay, instead of waiting for half a second, I'm going to wait a quarter second because the clawbot is going to be driving forward. Okay, now the other side of this coin, this is giving us while it's more than 75 millimeters away, drive forward. The other part is that if it's less than that, it's either going to be more or it's going to be less, then I want drivetrain to stop. Drivetrain, period, stop. Now, in order to actually get this thing to run, let's see here. We're going to go ahead and start outside the loop, where we're going to say, for my purposes, for my robot, I need the claw to raise up. Okay, so I want it to start the program by telling me that it's running. Brain.screen.print, and my value is going to be program running. That's going to tell me that it's started. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to have it do is say brain, I want it to go to the next row. So brain.screen dot next row. Now I'm going to go ahead and have it print the value of distance 11. That's too many O's. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and have it wait 20.25 seconds. So that way it's reading the value and then it's going and moving on. Okay? And I'm going to have it wait 0.25 period, comma, seconds. And then I'm going to go ahead and say drivetrain dot drive forward, because I want it to start moving. And now what I'm going to have it do is I'm going to have it call on the function. You remember how I defined a function? I defined drive and stop. So I'm going to call that drive underscore and underscore stop. All right. So after all that indenting fun, it works. So watch your indenting, and yeah, that's basically how you use this sensor. Have fun.